Hi, folks. Here we're going to do a run through of our prototyping. So these are not all of the screens that are required. It's just redundant going through everything. So I'm just going to go through a few of the basic procedures to get your wireframe, or sorry, your prototyping done. So from XD, we've done our designs here. And then we can go over to the top left and we can click prototype. So everything looks exactly the same. So I'm just going to jump in right away and I'm going to click on the text here to activate. This is where I'm going to start. So when we hit here, we get a little arrow that comes up. But anytime we select an element, those little arrows come up. So that means you can make those what would essentially be a button active. So I want my next button to be active. So I'm going to go ahead and click that button. And I'm going to click that blue arrow. And I'm just going to take that because this button I want to link to this page, onboarding sign up. When it comes down to prototyping, you generally don't prototype your actual text login, any fields like that. So we're just going to go ahead and activate the sign up button. So I'm going to click that. And again, click my arrow. And I want it to connect over to, once I hit sign up, it takes me to the home page. So I wanted to connect it to the home page. You might have a login button there. It's not necessary to create all these additional pages. There's no need to do so. Some of you have gone ahead and added some small print. You're welcome to, but again, it wasn't in the required text, so you do not need to. So jumping over to the home, we can start now activating some buttons. So as I've kind of done with a lot of you folks or spoke about a lot of times is grouping elements. I'm constantly grabbing elements and grouping. Ironically, that one was not grouped. For the most part, it's good to keep them grouped, but sometimes it does give you some problems. So we're just going to, when you're doing your prototyping. So what I'm going to do is, want to make sure that those little, goodness, there we go. What I want to make sure is just that the hamburger menu alone is not grouped, because I don't want to, what I don't want to happen, sorry, is I don't want to click this whole header and end up pulling up my navigation. I generally just want it to click the actual hamburger menu. So making sure that's ungrouped before you do that. And again, I'm going to hit that arrow. Oops. I'm going to hit that arrow and I'm going to slide it over to here. But what happens when, I'll just show you a little preview. When I do that on its own, I have this pulling up. And this is not what I want to visually happen when I click my navigation. I want to still see the background behind. So I want my navigation to be an overlay on top of this. So how we do that is, let's go ahead and click that now. We're going to go over to this right side where we get, so these are different elements. So drag, tab. I'm just going to stick with tab and keep it easy. But this is where we want to be in the actions. We want this to be on overlay. So now your little arm turns into a dotted line. So now you know that's an overlay and you get this green box coming up. So that green box is essentially now showing, when you click that, you get a little preview, that's showing where that's going to pop up. So I want to click my hamburger menu and it just appears all of a sudden in the middle. I would like it to come from the left-hand side because it's very intuitive. That's where the left-hand menu is. You can, oh, that's called navigation. And how we can do this, we can do dissolve, which it would fade in, but I'd like it to slide from, oops, slide from the right. When you do that, it automatically hinges over to the right-hand side. And that's how we do that. So now let's just take, we'll wait for that preview actually. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same to our other page here. So always making sure you're linking all of your navigations and you're not missing it on one of your pages. You always need to make sure they're active. So because we did that overlay last, it showed up. So again, I'm just gonna take that arm and drag on over there. And again, same thing, just making sure everything is set to the same settings, because you never want those transitions to change from one page to the next. Consistency is always, always key. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab that arm, grab that. I'm just going to group those suckers again and group. So another thing what I want to make sure is that when I'm scrolling down on my site, I want to make sure that this little menu always stays up at the top. I don't want it to, for instance, as I'm scrolling down, it starts to disappear. Again, here, let's just do a little preview. And there we go, it disappears. So I want to make sure that it always stays there. That's called a sticky nav at the top, or a fixed navigation, sorry. So all we do is when we select that, we want this whole header to stay up there, and we go over to the right-hand side and we go fixed position when scrolling. Again, making sure you're doing that on all your required pages. And there's that. So let's now take a brief moment and run through, or just go ahead and connect a few of our navigation elements. So I don't know what this little guy is doing. We don't need that. I'm going to take my order. Now I'm on a dotted line, so that means it's going to do an overlay, which we don't want. We want this to be a transition. So order, I'm going to take me to the main menu, and home. Always nice to continue to link to home. So let's just do a couple more little elements here. So what I want to happen when I hit add to cart, I'm going to have a pop-up that comes up where you can add special instructions, confirm adding to cart. So I'm just going to click that. But since it's a pop-up, again, I don't want it to be a transition. I want that to be an overlay. And then we can just decide where we want that. Let's just say we want that to dissolve in. And now I can move that to pop open on the center of my page. And then we can just go ahead and link all the other elements to the same pop-up. I don't need to go and create all the pop-ups for all the other elements. Absolutely, definitely not necessary at this stage of the game. It's just to give your client, AKA myself, a good idea as to how those pop-ups works. And I'm just going to go ahead and do those first few just to get the ball rolling, or just to kind of keep that, just to activate those three. So last but not least, I'm going to activate that quick button again. That's an overlay. I want that to be a transition. And I'm going to go to order now. So let's do a test. More times than not, when you start your test, you end up with a few hiccups. So you end up going back. So let's see how this is working. I'm going to click that. Click my sign up. There's a little bit of a scroll, but I don't need, there's not too much at this stage. So that's okay. Or on that page, there's not a lot to scroll through. So we'll test on the other page. Let's just see if we click home, we land on home. If we click order, there we are. So our navigation works well. You don't need to activate the X. If you click anywhere, it goes away. Let's see how this is working. Everything seems to be working as is. Last thing I want to test is to make sure that that navigation does in fact stay. So let's make sure we go home, and again, let's try that. But again, everything is looking good. So that kind of concludes prototyping for our one variation with a hamburger menu, working with our overlays, and we'll go over the base sticky menu in our next video.